Welcome to the Good Rookie Show. My name is Faheem.
And my name is Nelly J, y'all. And we are Good Rookie.
That's right.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's the Good Rookie Show.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So Faheem, we have somebody on the replay, you know what I'm saying? Like Rihanna, the quotes. Anyways, on the replay from episode 47, who's back again to bless us on the show today. Please introduce who we got.
We got a return guest, and we always like our return guests. It's like family.
Yes.
Definitely somebody we'll definitely be able to, for the culture, do a little bit more deep dive into what he's got going on and what he brings to the table. Let's welcome Emmanuel Kulu to the podcast today.
Emmanuel.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on?
What's going on with you, Emmanuel? What's going on? How are things?
Man, it's been a bit of a roller coaster in Buffalo, New York. The stuff that we had happen earlier this summer with the top shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And it really devastated the city, so to speak. But we're healing still. We're still in that healing process. But when football comes around, it's Bills Mafia all day. And we doing well so far. And this is the first time in a long time, since the 90s, y'all, that we had Super Bowl aspirations. So it's real exciting in Buffalo right now.
So question, as a part of Bills Mafia, is it Super Bowl or bust for y'all? Because I feel like you guys have the best, the best teams. Like, I think you guys do have the best team in the AFC. So at this point, if you don't come in out the AFC, as a fan, of course, this is like, your perspective. Is it like Super Bowl aspirations, or it's like, no? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like it is. But after watching that Kansas City game, it's still us in KC. It's still us in Kansas City. Like, Patrick Mahomes ain't missed a beat. A lot of people probably hoped that he was going to miss a beat after he lost to Tyreek Hill, but that boy still ain't playing no games. But yeah, I think it's Super Bowl bust or Super Bowl bust for us, because last year we took them all the way to the wire. Should have won.
I was going to ask you about that game. Yes,
should have won that game.
Walk us through your thoughts in that overtime, because I think the rules changed because of that game as well. Like, a coin toss was made. Go ahead.
A coin toss. Yeah. But so this is what. So Josh throws the game-winning touchdown, right? And these guys got 13 seconds. 13 seconds. Now, some say we should have kicked it. Some say just kick the touchback. And, but my problem was with the defensive coordinator. Why would you run a prevent defense, put all your corners back against guys like Tyreek Hill and guys like Kelsey? Like, why would you do that? So basically, Kelsey got like a 20-yard pass, and then it was another big play. Then they got a field goal, tied the game. Then we go into overtime. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes does what Patrick Mahomes does, and he beat us. That's what that.
And, again, it was because they got the ball first because the coin toss for him.
Yeah.
And if you score a touchdown in overtime, you win automatically.
Right.
I really think that was one of the games. There was another one in NFC, of course, with I think Green Bay, but that's one of the games I think really had the NFL say, like, is this overtime rule fair in the play, at least in the playoffs? You know what I'm saying? Like, in the playoffs, to me, should be do or die, because you have a whole week until you play the next game anyway. So it's like, y'all better keep scoring until someone wins at this point. Like, so, because in soccer, they do it that way, right? Soccer, other teams, they find ways to make it like fair, so the best team does come out if it's a draw. We saw the first draw last week with the Colts. I forgot who they played, but there was a draw last week. I think the Colts and who they play last week. Well, it was a draw game. So I think Houston. I think Colts in Houston.
Yeah, I think it was the Colts in Houston. Yeah,
it was a tie game for him in the NFL, like tied, because no one could score.
Right.
So or field goals, I should say. So it was a tied game. But I just think that was one game. I was like, did the best team actually win? Because of what the defense of Buffalo and Casey, I felt like, I don't know. I think we all like Patrick, but I wasn't sure if the best team won that game. And I think that's one of the games that had the NFL say we got to change the rules.
And that was Josh Allen was definitely saying, like, he said that on the interview. He was like, both teams should get a chance to win in overtime. Both offenses should get an opportunity. The team that gets stopped, it's up. That's it. If you get stopped, that's it. But both teams should get an opportunity to score. So that's always, hopefully they do change that rule.
That's always been on the table.
Yeah,
that's always been on the table, and I've always thought that. But I mean, it does take a playoff game for changes to be made, because even during the regular season figure. So I'm glad it happened. But best luck to the Bills this year, most definitely. I got a question for you. Where's Scott Norwood right now, by the way?
Don't remind me, bro. But you know what? Funny thing you say that. I'm hearing rumors. I don't know how true it is, that Scott Norwood may be going up on the Wall of Fame, because besides that kick, he was a pretty good kicker.
Yeah, no, he was. Really good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
I also think he's probably inspired by the Ace Ventura kicker, the one who watched Ace Ventura. Hey,
Ray Finkel? Really, Nelly? Ray Finkel.
Ray Finkel. That's it. I'm like, what's his name? Ray Finkel. I heart Finkel. Finkel, Einhorn. That's my show. Okay, so Faheem, before we jump to the main topic, I have to ask this question, because we actually have a Lakers fan in the building. Yeah, they still have a lot of fans. And so what was I have to ask you, because it was our last episode with That's Absurd, and I got to hear a Laker fan perspective. What's your thoughts on Pat Bev saying that the Lakers should be lucky to have, not lucky, but kind of like they're playing with me, because I made the playoffs and they didn't, with AD and LeBron. What's your thoughts on what he said that? Like, were you excited to have Pat Bev on your team? Like, were you like, what's this guy talking about? I mean, good luck this year, because Pat Bev, you know what?
I gotta say this first though, Nelly. I am a LeBron James fan.
Okay.
So whatever LeBron goes, I'm
we want to go.
LeBron sections in the places building. As you go.
Okay.
I've been to MIA. I've been back to Cleveland and back, and now to LA. So I'm going wherever Bron go. But right now, I feel like Pat Bev, he got rights to say that, and if it lights a fire up under the team the way they played last year, so be it. We need that type of fire. Like, how you gonna have that many Hall of Famers on that squad?
4 or
play
5?
the way y'all played all season. That was disgusting. That was disgusting.
I'm gonna give the Lakers a pass though, because remember, AD wasn't there.
There's injuries, exactly, Emmanuel.
He wasn't there for a long time.
Always acting like y'all don't need. Thank you, Faheem. Faheem, I feel like Laker fans forget that fact. Like, y'all act like your team was healthy. LeBron missed a lot of games. AD missed a lot of games. You guys thought Westbrook by himself with a no point dated Carmelo was going to do anything? I think Laker fans over expected too much from your team. No offense, but I knew from when AD went down that y'all were going to fight for a play-in spot. I knew that, because
you know what?
I'm objective.
When I seen the signing of Westbrook, I was like, he can't shoot, because I was looking at Dame. I wanted Dame so bad.
That would make sense,
because there was some big talk over that summer when LeBron made the Space Jam 2
LeBron needs to play the shooter. Right. LeBron needs shooters or scorers. Like, to play with LeBron's system, you have to could score or shoot, because LeBron needs that.
Right. So I'm thinking that it was going to be Dame. Then I hear Westbrook, and I'm like,
well, DeRozan. Forget DeRozan too, and Kyle Lowry. A lot of names were tossed in there. So
right, but so you pass up DeRozan and Buddy Hield, a shooter, which you need, and a mid-range guy over Russell Westbrook, who can't shoot. Like, I just didn't see. But as it was explained to me, they were trying to say, okay, AD and LeBron is not in the best of health. So if those guys go down, we can bring in this triple-double threat in Russell Westbrook. But them three on the court together, even though we didn't see it very much, I just didn't see it fitting, because he can't shoot.
So if you were to have that trio on the court, say, I don't know, 70% of the time, do you still think that this team was a team that's not going to make the playoffs? Like, realistically, if they were healthy.
I mean, if Frank Vogel would have had the ability to bench Westbrook, I think now if you put Westbrook, have him come off the bench, you can make the playoffs.
Yo, I've been saying that. So when you guys signed Westbrook, I said he'd be great for the second unit. That means LeBron can come in, do his thing, because LeBron is a point guard that plays forward, and then Westbrook comes on and does his own thing, because they're both ball handlers, and they both need to have a high usage of ball in their hand. Like they both need that to be like Westbrook is great when he has the ball in his hand majority of the time. And LeBron's great in that way. So I always felt that, hey, it could work. Like have Westbrook run the second unit. He can still play starter minutes, but he's coming off the bench to kind of give a balance so LeBron can rest and Westbrook can run. Westbrook by himself run the offense. He didn't look bad. His numbers were actually really good. Like for someone in their 15th or whatever season, look at his numbers alone. You're like, oh, it's not bad. He didn't play bad, but because he put the Lakers and they lost.
His efficiency was
but it's always been that way. Y'all knew what you're coming. Like again, you guys knew what you're getting before you got him. So I'm not. Again, it's who he is as a player. But my thing was just that I just think that Lakers were make the playoffs for him, but they weren't going to do anything because they have no defense. Unfortunately, the defensive guys like Caruso, Lonzo, the guys who play defense on that team left. Kuzma, they all left. Right? 80 don't want to play in the post. Their bigs left. There was no McGee. Like the guys who helped them win the championship in the bubble, that entire team was gone. Right. And then had like 3 or 4 guys returning from that team. So to me, I just think that they need defensive presence. I think Pat Bev is a good addition because he does bring that defensive intensity. And what he did for Minnesota, I think he brought an edge to them that they needed in terms of pride and defense. I think Ant-Man's also added to that as well. I think Ant-Man's team and Pat Bev, I think they play well together. But now with the Lakers, I think Pat Bev, to your point, is going to bring a defensive edge that they didn't have before. It's the only good thing. But his mouth go. It's going to go. Okay.
Yeah. Pat Bev, if you recall a few years ago, where he blocked LeBron on a game-winning shot. You know, LeBron had a clean lick, and Pat Bev disrupted that. He smacked the ball right in his face at the end of a game against the Clippers a few years back.
The question is, are you okay with that? Were you okay that he?
Man, listen, I'm okay with good basketball. You know, we grew up in Buffalo where Tom Brady beat us every year, but we still respect greatness. I still respect greatness. You know what I'm saying? So Pat Bev, defensive greatness. That's what we needed over here.
So question, let's put predictions out there. I'm NBA starting in a month. Lakers, you said for the Bills, they have to be Super Bowl or bust. What's your thoughts for the Lakers? Where do you think they should end up in terms of at the end of the season? What number should they be?
First of all, you got to decide whether what are we doing with Russ or without Russ?
Russ, hey, apparently he's on the team. Y'all aren't trading him. So the team is healthy. Russ is there with Pat Bev. Because I saw something that they're going to keep Russ. They're not going to trade him or anything like that for now, but that can change in January. What's your thoughts? Do you guys
I don't see
playoff
champions.
team
I don't
play in?
Okay. I see it maybe an eighth seed. I see maybe an eighth seed.
Oh, you're a fair fan. Okay.
I just got to be realistic. We still don't have any shooting. So unless we make a trade and get a Bogdanovic or, Mike Conley or Vanderbilt or Mike Beasley, from the Jazz, what's been rumored right now. Unless we make that type of trade, I am eighth seed, and I don't see a championship. We are not beating Golden State with this roster right now.
Y'all ain't beating Memphis. Y'all ain't beating Golden State. No. Y'all ain't beating even Denver. Like this. Listen, the what? And the thing,
we can beat Denver now. We can beat Denver.
Well, Jamal Murray and I don't know.
He ain't played in 2 years now.
Yeah, but y'all got no one to even guard Jokic. He will destroy y'all. You've nobody.
Well, AD got Jokic. AD got Jokic. If he's healthy. If he's healthy.
AD does not. I'm sorry. Yeah. You think
Mr.
AD?
Piece of glass.
Let's be real. I wouldn't want to put AD on Jokic because I'm afraid of his. Just like Jokic if you watch Jokic how he played against Giannis in the FIBA tournament, I don't think Jokic can handle all of that pressure. Okay, like he plays very aggressive and he'll bump into you. Like he's huge, right? I don't see AD guarding him. That's why if you remember the bubble, they had a McGee, they had White, they had big bodies, right?
Right.
I just think this team doesn't have that. I'm not sure who's their starting center right now.
They got Thomas Bryant. They brought him back, and they got Damian Jones. They brought him back.
Okay. Yeah.
Those are guys
so Jokic will drop 30 on the Lakers. Again, I'm not saying the Lakers is not better. I just think that in a regular season, because they were top 6 team without Jamal Murray and MPJ, I just think they'll be a top 6 team again in the Western Conference, as well as, Kawhi's back. So the Lakers I think Lakers will be a play-in team, but a playoff team, I think that's too high. because I do think other teams might step up. I think Sacramento will be a threat. Pelicans, Zion is back. The Western
Not worried
Conference got
about Sac.
really good.
Not worried about Sac. I am worried about the Grizzlies, though.
The Grizzlies.
Ja is ridiculous.
Yo, even Minnesota with Gobert, like the Western Conference ain't no easy thing anymore, yo. So the Lakers are gonna have to walk every night.
Yep. And that's why they better make a move. You'll make a move, like I said, maybe an AFC. I said maybe an AFC.
Mm-hmm. So just a while back there, Nelly J, you mentioned about the FIBA tournament with Joker. And I just noticed something very interesting in regards to international basketball. The vice president of NBA Africa, he had made a comment to say that basketball can overtake football in Nigeria. Wow, that's quite a claim. That is quite a
Faheem, say his name, please. Who said this? Do you know his name? Like who said this? Like,
yes, his name is. Just one moment. Okay, help me out. It's
Struggle with the name.
Struggle with the name.
Welcome to my world, Faheem. Okay, go ahead.
Hold on. Okay, I'll probably butcher this, but here we go. Gambisola Abudu.
Okay.
It's spelled. I'll spell it Gbemisola. Last name Abudu.
Okay, and he said it with a straight face that basketball is going to take over. You know what? I'm gonna pass this to the African historian because
no.
Emmanuel, can you educate the folks about Africa, the continent, not a country, the continent, the people, the villages, do you really think that basketball, who requires a court, a rim, quite a few things to play, will ever overtake soccer, which all you need really is just a ball or anything that can at least be kicked on a grass? Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
You ready? No. There's the answer. Soccer has. I mean, let me stop saying soccer. We talking about Afrikaans.
Thank you.
We talking about football. Okay, the game where you actually use your foot and no hands. That game. No, it will never overtake that sport. That is deeply enrooted in African culture, all across the continent. I don't see that ever happening. Nigeria has sections of it that is more westernized, I would say, but I still don't see that. I think they're saying that based off the youth. A lot of youth are now playing basketball in Nigeria, but I still don't see it overtaking soccer. That soccer's it's a worldwide sport. So I don't see that happening at all.
So the average age in Nigeria is 18.9 years old. So 19 years old is the average age, and the population is about 210 million. So you're right. There's some demographics there that they're actually looking at and saying, okay, well, if it can be really popular amongst this group, eventually when this group turns to this age, there's a possibility, for a shift. So, I mean, there is some, there's some numbers behind backing why they feel this way.
There's no numbers for him. No, there's not. He's just saying that to just kind of make the NBA happy, bro.
Yeah,
I'm from Nigeria, bro. For him, I'm the Nigerian. It's not going to ever overtake soccer, like real talk. And it's not because of the population, the age group. It's just the actual the culture of Africa, the culture of even in Nigeria. It's most popular in Nigeria, but increased popularity, we can't confuse that with overtaking another sport, right? His quote was not that it's going to increase in popularity, is that it will overtake soccer. That's not going to happen. Kids, listen, Siakam, most African players, you ask them what sport they played first growing up, is soccer. All of them, right?
Yeah,
Joel Embiid, same thing. Mutombo, Olajuwon, they all played
because a lot of them they don't have indoor gyms. They don't have what we have in North America. It's not the same at all. Masai right now, he's on a whole trend of trying to build courts, but that's even hard to do because remember, you have to put concrete. You got to find land and have the chief of that area, because we have chiefs still back in Africa who have to agree to even doing that in their village, right? And sometimes that grass got to be used for actual, crops and companies and buildings that will put money into the village, not a basketball court. So there's many things and reasons why it will never overtake it. But I do think, to your point, there will be increased popularity in basketball. And I think basketball being played in Africa for a long time, not just with the NBA and FIBA. It's been happening for a long time. But unfortunately, children growing up play soccer first because the basketball, the ball itself of basketball, you can't play basketball without a basketball. You just can't. And even
but you know what
basketball,
they're saying this based off the popularity of the sport and how Nigerians tend to adapt to Western culture a little better than other African cultures. Yes. So they're probably saying it based on that. But like you said, you raise a really good point. I mean, building all of these basketball courts around the city and on the country in order to do this, to really make these young players strive to play.
Yes.
You're talking about building gyms and all of these different things. It's a lot of things going on back home.
Material, it's a lot. So again, I'm not saying that it won't be popular, but just like how basketball hasn't overtaken Europe, and it's a good example, actually, because think about this. If basketball hasn't overtaken Europe market, right? Why would it overtake African market? I think it's very ignorant to think that, because literally the sport market, the soccer, is as popular in Africa as it is in Europe. And so if basketball hasn't even won that market yet, it hasn't, why would it win Africa, the continent itself? Like, to me, like, look at other international markets and make that assumption. Now, if basketball was the top sport in Europe or overtook soccer after 20 years, cool. But it hasn't been done yet. It hasn't. So why would Africans be any different? I don't know. It's weird.
So I'm just going to throw this out. And I mean, I agree with everything, both points you guys are making. I'm just throwing this out. Say in Canada right now, we've been known as hockey, right? If someone to say basketball is going to overtake hockey over X amount of years, I might say that might be fair assumption. While maybe if we were to say that 30 years ago, no one would believe. Before the Raptors had an NBA team, no one would have thought that it would even be possible for hockey to be overtaken by basketball. Here we are 30 years later. And so, I mean, I'm not speaking
but again, Faheem, you're talking from a Toronto perspective. You go to Calgary, basketball ain't nothing in Calgary or Alberta. Like, I think people in Toronto were very ignorant and thinking that Canada is us. You go to other parts. I've lived in other provinces in Canada. Basketball is not popular at all. Okay. It's popular because Toronto is the most populated city, and Vancouver, those are very Americanized cities. But if you actually go in those places and say, hey, let's play basketball, they'll be like, what? We're going to play hockey. They actually,
that's right.
Listen, in the summer, they actually play hockey on the actual, like on the ground. You know what I'm saying? I remember in Alberta, they're playing hockey every week, like a run every week, Faheem. So again, just because the Raptors franchise is more valuable than the Maple Leafs, well, the only one basketball franchise in Canada. So we can't think that because that one thing happened, it'll overtake hockey. Hockey will always be Canada's sport because Canada is not just Toronto. But I do think because we are in a very diverse area in Toronto, basketball has been very, very popular here. But trust me, looking at the grassroots level of hockey versus basketball, there's more money in hockey. At the grassroots level. So I just don't think that basketball will ever overtake hockey, but I think it's more popular, which is great for the sport.
And the NBA championship helped y'all.
Yeah, that's great. But listen, you go to Alberta and talk about basketball versus hockey. They'll be like, what? No, Faheem. Right. Hockey.
And, we know the same thing because there was a few experiments with the NFL in Canada. Where we was playing games up there at the
Rogers Center,
and they weren't doing well.
Right,
they weren't doing very well. So we have a pretty big Bills backing up there. So and it still didn't really sell very well. So like I say, there's certain eras that things grew in. Like in the '90s, hip hop was like you're never going to overtake the '90s for hip hop heads, right? Or the early 2000s. Same thing with like there's certain primes in sports and in other things as well. And like I said, when it comes to Africa, no, you're not replacing football or what we call soccer in America.
Even South Africa. I'm looking at South Africa and Kenya. Like, no, those places are all like, but again, people think Nigeria is Africa and it's not. It's actually very different from Nigeria. How they are is very different from like Cameroonians or, big up to your people.
That's my people.
Or, Ghana and Nigeria are very close, but they're still very different. There's always a jollof debate. So South Africa, Kenya, East Africa, huge soccer. Like Ethiopians, you ask Eritreans, they have soccer tournaments in Toronto, like between different, you know what I'm saying? So soccer is just so big. I think it's cute to say it, Faheem. It's cute, he'll overtake it one day. I think he was feeling himself, probably had a couple more shots too much, but yeah, no, Africa is not Nigeria.
In Nigeria, by the way, I can understand why you guys may want to play basketball more, because against Cameroon, you guys can never stand against us.
Oh,
so.
wow. Trash talking already.
I love my brothers in Nigeria.
I know you do. We love you too, brother.
Actually, so I'm just thinking right now, Cameroon, help me out with some names. We got Pascal Siakam.
Embiid.
I believe isn't Embiid from Cameroon too?
Embiid, right? Joel Embiid, right?
From Cameroon, yeah.
I think there's like 3 or 4 from Cameroon. So if they're to play, because Nigeria has a little bit of representation, you think that Cameroon would beat Nigeria if they played?
Yeah. Cameroon's more hungry, more disciplined, more hungry.
Oh Lord, here we go.
Shots fired.
Disciplined, more hungry.
To be honest, I mean, Nigeria beat USA with KD on there. So I mean, let's be real. I mean, we did. KD was playing on the court, right? You on the court? Okay. And okay then. So yeah, we beat the USA team with KD on the floor. Okay. And that's why they had to go get some bigger men, because the big men in Nigeria were in the paint destroying things, right? That's why they had to go get other people like McGee or wherever, like mid center to help them out, because there's big boys in the FIBA or in the Olympics. So yeah. I'm talking about trash talking, but big up to all the guys playing in the FIBA right now, FIBA World Cup or qualifying for the World Cup next year. So Canada came 4th. The USA was 3rd. We lost to USA in the third, I think semifinals, whatever, which kind of sucks. But yeah.
Shout out to Joel Embiid. Also, I did hear that he was granted French citizenship. Do you guys hear about this? That threw me for a loop, and especially now that since we're talking about basketball in Africa, having people defect is not going to help the growth of the game, especially when that's what's happening right now. Even with football, you have people who could play for Africa, an African nation, and end up playing for their European squad, that whatever, right? So, I mean, it happens. But in saying that, shout out to the BAL, Basketball Africa League, looking to obviously grow the game in Africa. So,
and also
we need Giannis. We need
I'm gonna say, like, honestly, it's something where I'm not sure where it's gonna shift, but I do like your point, Faheem. I do think we need to see more of these guys, like, play for their African nation. But I'm curious to know, because a lot of guys in Cameroon and guys in Congo, a lot of them do live in Europe for some time. And then, you know what I mean? So they kind of, especially a lot of Africans travel to Europe. So I'm wondering if he used to live there, but I do think that like why would you play for, I get it, it's money, right? It's all money.
Right. It's the money. It's the money. That's the only thing. Even if Africans would have had the resources, even in football and soccer, they would be the champions every year. But the fact that they don't have the facilities, they don't have all of those things that European countries have. Right. This is why a lot of great African players would prefer to play in Europe or the United States than play in Africa, because they just don't have the facilities to train like these other guys. So this is why. Or they get paid, or to get that money, So.
Or also, if you're a top player, you might not have the talent around you. Tell you the truth, like look at Ibaka. I'm pretty sure Ibaka played for Spain, right? Or if he wasn't, I have a feeling he might have played for Spain. But he did he play for Spain? Maybe someone can.
He speaks French. Why would he play for Spain? That's weird.
Ibaka's from Cameroon, right?
No, he's Congo. Ibaka, Serge?
Yeah, he's
from Congo, but he's French. He speaks French. So why would he play for Spain? I'm trying to understand why would he play
for France? I think he played for France.
I can see France, but I'm trying to think he played for Spain. Like, that's so weird.
No. Let me look.
You let me know, but I'm just saying that's really weird that you play for.
Why? Yes. So yeah, he did. Yeah, he played for Spain. He did.
So again, money.
Yeah,
money, right?
He played for Spain. He played basketball in the Spanish professional league as a teenager, and then he was granted
As a
citizenship.
teenager,
And then,
see, that makes
and
sense.
then, and that
okay.
allowed him to represent Spain in international. So back to my point. So Ibaka played for Spain, but in Congo, he probably like he didn't have the talent around him to say
And
like.
also, was there even a
build.
Congo team like that? Was there even a like that played internationally? I'm
not.
asking. I don't know.
No,
I don't think so. I
don't think they had one. Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So if you're a top player, if you don't have the talent around you, it's very rare you're gonna have someone that's gonna say, you know what, I'm just gonna like I have that pride for my country just to play. You know what I'm saying? They want to play and they want to win and compete, right?
So it does say that he did play for Congo for the FIBA Under-18 championship in 2006. So he did play for that, but then years later he expressed the desire to play for the Spain national team and was granted consent to deploy. So again, that's the thing. A lot of Africans have relationships with the European, but of course it's money. You know what I'm saying? I can imagine
money. That's
how
all
much they gave him. Yeah.
It's money, it's publicity, it's being on the biggest stage.
For their brand.
But also, it's Spain. That was like if they're like a top 3 team in the world, you know what I'm saying? So
also top 3 like basketball nation in the world, I think too.
Right. Yeah.
Spain,
so I mean, that's kind of that's a layup right there.
I think they're more probably bigger than Canada.
What was his ultimate goal? To get to the league.
Yeah.
And he's in the league. He wasn't going to get to the league playing in the Congo.
But
keep in mind, I mean, he was drafted. He was drafted in the NBA. What year was he drafted? He was drafted in what year was he drafted? I'm trying to find it. 2008. He was drafted in 2008, and he played for Spain after the draft. So he was already in the league. And actually him playing for the U18 league in Durban, what got him exposure for Congo. So, but I guess after playing in the NBA, probably, I guess playing NBA, I'm sure, guys, I'm sure a lot of European national teams look at all the guys and go, who can we get to play for our national team?
Exactly.
I'm sure they all do it. So like you said, B got, I
for
imagine
France.
what check he got. What kind of check you got? And what's funny, people like to come after my girl, Naomi Osaka, for playing for Japan, where she's born, right? Why can't she play for Haiti? You know what I'm saying? All that stuff. But no one ever goes after the African or Black guys who can't play for the African nation to play for European. No one goes after them, but they go after Naomi, who's actually from Japan. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of double standard-ish, of course.
So, and you really can't blame anyone trying to flee, poverty. You know what I'm saying? You really can't. That's just the reality of it. And in all of these different war-torn countries and Africa, people are just seeking refuge, man. Like they're seeking a better opportunity. In Europe and America, they can have those opportunities. So and then you got to deal with politics too. You got to deal with politics. Don't get that twisted either. The politics in some of these countries, some of them are puppet masters for their colonizers. So there you go.
There you go.
Preach. So once again, shout out to BAL, shout out to this Africa basketball period. We want to see the growth. And but on that note, I think we should go to For the Culture.
For the culture, we get to highlight individuals that are always for the culture. And today we get to highlight the man in front of y'all, Emmanuel Kulu Jr. Okay, Cameroonian, Breda, Zulu, and Bantu tribe. Big up on himself. But he's an African historian, author. He also actually, Faheem. So I know last time he spoke about, him founding his own producing company. He's a writer and all that. But as of late, which I did not know, you founded, so first of all, let's promote your novels first. Guys, here's 2 novels on Amazon. Okay, I'm gonna have the link for y'all. I, Black Pharaoh, Rise in Power, and I, Black Pharaoh, Golden Age of Triumph. These novels were published in 2020 and 2021. So please support him. Great novels about actual African history and stories. However, you actually founded, as of late, the True African Imagery of Ancient Egypt. And in 2022, you founded the Ancient African Antiquities Research Institute of America, with the mission of creating a middle and high school curriculum of African studies, which I think is amazing. So that curriculum will provide education and diversity and a better understanding and inclusion of African studies within the world history, and by a Black historian, not a white historian, because I think most of our African historians are not Black. So anyway, big up to you, Emmanuel Kulu Jr., for always being for the culture. Please, first of all, tell me about why you founded this research institution of America, and how is that going right now?
Yeah, it's going good. As a matter of fact, speaking of that, next month I'll be doing a TED Talk on the untold golden age of Africa.
Hmm.
So look out for the TED Talk, y'all. So that's
Mhm.
coming next month. But yeah, Africa is the origin of all humanity. There is a anthropologist and archaeologist. His name was Professor Louis Leakey. He's a European, and he didn't stay very long searching for the origins of humanity. He didn't stay long in Europe or Asia or even in Americas. He found himself in the Horn of Africa, where he claimed to have found the first human remains. So that means what? Everybody sprouted up out of Africa, according to him. So then you got people who believe in creation, the Bible, the Quran, people like myself who believe in that. And that says the same thing. Ancient Egypt was the first mega civilization. So whether you believe in evolution or science, or you believe in creation, still came up out of Africa. Both roads lead back to Africa. So the Untold Golden Age and Ancient African Antiquities Research Institute of America is to connect those dots, as Africa being the missing piece of the human story when it comes to our Common Core curriculum. So we're trying to fill that void. You're talking about over 6,000 years that have been omitted from history, from world history. So we want to make sure we institute ancient Egypt back to its African context, ancient Kush, ancient Mali, where you know about Mansa Musa, Aksum in Eastern Africa, Zululand, which is my great ancestors, all of that, 6,000 years of African glory, and putting it in our Common Core curriculum. So not just African people know it, but all people know their origin.
I love that because like this is something we spoke about last time about Black Panther and that film. There's actual stories like that of actual Africans doing things like helping, wars and helping actually getting wealth. The Woman King is coming out or now playing, I think, in most theaters now with Viola Davis. And what's crazy is that I'm seeing a lot more African hero stories being written as of late. Since Black Panther, it was like, wow, these stories can sell. These stories are important. Because I think us growing up, y'all, we see stuff about the Romans, lots of stories about, the Greeks and all these different white ancient kingdoms, but they never spoke about actual African kingdoms ever. And I feel like there's been an influx and an increase of more African kingdom stories. What's your thoughts on this shift in our society?
Well, if you go back to the history of the ancient Greeks, right, who are considered by our Common Core curriculum as the monarch of ancient antiquities, they always gave reference back to the Ethiopians and the Egyptians as the original people who created civilization and passed them to them. Even the god Zeus says, I prefer to be with the blameless Ethiopians. So they considered them to be the ancient of all people at that time. So you have movies on the ancient Greeks. How can you have movies on that and you don't include the Ethiopians, who are the Kushite people, or the people you see today as from modern day Sudan, and then the Egyptian people as well? They looked at as like these people of great renown. So what Black Panther did, you got a couple movies: Black Panther, Lion King. Lion King is based out of Africa too. And these movies all connect back to ancient Egypt. You got Mufasa. You also got T'Chaka, who's like the Mufasa role, who goes back to Osiris. And it's just all this ancient history connecting back to Egypt. So indirectly, they're saying this is a fiction film, Black Panther, but in reality, it is ancient Egyptian mythology, just renamed and reshaped. So it still connects back to the ancient Egypt, basically.
Yeah, but I just think that like if you know all the greats, like we talk about all the great, I guess, European conquerors. I just think that there were African conquerors and civilizations.
Oh, yeah.
And and kingdoms and even queens, right? People think no, like there were actual queens running countries, running everything in Africa. So women empowerment was never an issue in Africa. The Europeans brought the whole no, women don't do anything, men do everything. That was a
Right.
European thing. But if you look at African history, women always had power to rule, right? It wasn't like, oh, it must be a man ruling. Like, you watch these European shows, like it has to go to a male. In Africa, it wasn't like that, right? So, but I mean, of course, some villages have that, but some do not. It just depends on the kingdom and its customs. But I do think Africa did adopt a lot of European beliefs that men should rule. But historically, that wasn't a thing. It was actually a woman could rule anything and read and do all the stuff that men can do. So it's quite interesting.
To your point, Nelly, African women were the first women to rule. And not only that, Africa has produced more women rulers than anywhere else on the planet.
Let's talk about it. Mm-hmm.
So, when people say these things, why are Black women, African women so strong and they're strong women? Well, they were the first rulers, the first warriors. They were the first of all things.
Yep.
So there you go. That's why. How can they endure so much? How can they do this? How can they do that? Well,
they were warriors.
And that's what this woman king represents. It's supposed to represent the strength of the Black woman and how that she can even be fight amongst the men.
And I think that's important. I think it's important because people think Black women are strong because of what we went through in America or growing up in the North American system. But Black women have been strong. Like we're not just strong because of what happened to us in North America being enslaved by the colonizers. No, actually, we've been strong before we got here, y'all. Exactly. We weren't strong because we're here. We're strong from prior, but because we've always been strong, they tried to beat us out of it. Like actually, that was a thing, right? So I think our strength has always been there. It didn't come from enslavement. It came from it's in our blood. So I think seeing stuff like this will shed more light as to women of color and men of color. But I mean, one thing I want to talk about too. So you have a podcast, where like you have multiple shows, right? A podcast network. And you spoke about that the last time. So talk about your podcast network. Where can folks learn more about it? What shows you guys got going on and so forth?
Yeah, we have IBP Media, and I felt like these three facets, Culture, which is my show, The Culture Show. And there's another show called The Pop-Up Show with the Joker, which is hip hop. And then we have the sports segment. I mean, these are three things that our culture has dominated. But the thing that we do need to know more is about our historical culture as a whole. So that's the context I bring, but we bring in three things in one. The culture is not just about African history, though. It's about all different histories around the world, how it affects people, melanated people of color all around the world, because it is my belief that melanated people all over the world are under attack and have always been. So we want to shed light on all of those things happening around the world. But of course, we sports fans, diehard basketball, football. So we have a show called The Fan Cave as well. With my cousin, he runs that one. And then, like I said, the hip hop show, talk about everything hip hop and R&B, taking it back to the essence of hip hop, not this whoop-de-whoop stuff that's going on right now.
Well, no, that's really dope. And like, I guess I have to ask, you've been on quite a few shows on TV, on radio. What has been what has been the dumbest question you've been asked by someone interviewing you? And you're like, are you kidding me? But you couldn't say anything at the time, but you're like, who asked that? Have you been in a situation where they asked you a question and you're like, for real? Just out of curiosity, just because.
You know what?
I gotta ask.
I've been asked the jungle question, being from my father being from Africa. Do we have lions in our backyard? Things like that. That is one of the dumbest questions that has ever been asked to me. I mean, even since I was a child, that question has been asked to me. When you got a name like Kulu, that Kulu, that sounds like Zulu and sounds very African.
Right.
People always ask those type of crazy questions. Did your parents come here with no clothes or things like that?
Hmm.
So those are some of the dumbest questions I've had to
What?
ask. And just for those who would ask me that question,
Don't
if you
ask.
want to go see lions, you go to the zoo, even in Africa.
Even in Africa, they don't get
Yeah.
that. Hmm.
Yeah, and this is for those who are miseducated. Yes, there's many exotic animals in Africa, but those areas are gated off. You just don't walk over to those areas. You just can't. You got to have a license to go over to the bush in a jungle to just go out there. You know, there are tribal people who live amongst those people, but other than that, for outsiders, you just can't just go out there and just walk into lions.
I mean, if you want to live,
Exactly.
it's up to you though. You decide what you want to do.
You
Right?
do what you want.
Yeah, the narrative on Africans is changing. You know, people are starting to be more aware now. You know, if this was like many years ago, yeah, I can see that. But nowadays, I think now, especially with the movement that you know, even Afrobeats, believe it or not, that's something that's hitting the mainstream. And now people are like, oh, you know what? That's African, like that's music that has a blend of maybe reggae and a blend of hip hop and a blend of, you know, a mixture of everything. Like Afrobeats is actually, you know, and Billboard actually picked up Afrobeats as they track it now. They chart
Yeah.
Afrobeats now. So it's like, you know, yeah, the narrative is actually changing. But I got a few questions as we go out of For the Culture real quick. Hopefully these don't make your list of dumb questions, but but try to answer this real quick. Okay, so my first one, actually, first of all, I want to give a shout out. You guys were speaking about queens. I want to shout out Queen Sheba. She's a very notable one. Here's one question I'll throw for you. You mentioned Mansa Musa earlier. A lot of people may not know who Mansa Musa is. He was at the time one of the most wealthiest men on.
He is the wealthiest man ever on planet. He is
the planet ever.
Well, ever.
Okay.
Like no one has ever passed him.
Okay.
Folks thought that that boy from Amazon passed him. I don't say his name anymore, but he hasn't passed him. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's still Mansa Musa. Okay.
He's worth over 500 billion in gold.
Right.
Gold,
okay.
Gold standard.
So
imagine how 500. So imagine convert that to modern day.
Exactly.
So here's my question, real quick. Just give me a quick answer. There's clearly been no movie on him for somebody of that stature, and you know there's always documentaries popping up all the time. How long do you think before we get a Mansa Musa documentary? Real quick.
You know, I think I've got a little insider on this.
Okay.
Yes, because I heard it's going to come out. Yeah, let me know.
From what I understand, it's in the works.
Okay.
Actually, not in the works. I just saw that. Yeah, I just saw that on Netflix. Yeah,
film. I'm talking about a feature film.
Oh, feature film. Okay, yeah, because I know Son of Soil is like a doc. It's around the African king Mansa Musa.
Yeah.
On
I'm
Netflix.
talking like
yeah,
feature,
it's a
like
feature film supposed to be coming. I know Ryan Coogler, who did Black Panther, is involved.
Enough said.
That's true.
Okay.
That's true. 2018, it was announced. I just found the article, and they're gonna have Michael B. Jordan, and they're both gonna be involved.
Nice.
So Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan wants to bring they want to bring it to the big screen. So I don't know how filming works. You got to bid, you got to get produced and stuff like that. But I'm sure they'll win something. If the Woman King, which I feel it does, it will do really well. Black Panther 2 is coming out in the fall. I heard someone said they read allegedly the script and they said it's mind blowing. So if I know those films will do really well, I think that would be enough to get enough producers to fund it. So yeah.
So like you mentioned, The Woman King, I just find films like this of Black empowerment hitting the big screen. You can't have too much at once. It's almost like the powers that be in media say, okay, you know what, this is this season's, you know what I'm saying, or this is what we're doing this year. Like you'll never have multiple in 1 year. It's always like that one that comes out seems
one
to be
Black at a time.
Well, we're gonna have two. Well, guess what, Faheem? We're gonna have two because Black Panther is coming out in November. And Woman King is coming out this month. So in the fall, we're gonna have two. We can actually have two in the theater at the same time, depending on the timing of it.
Right. Okay.
But we're gonna have two Black empowerment films in the fall. So
that's okay.
It's gonna happen for the first time. It's for the first time, though. You're right.
Here's what I do want to say, though, y'all. Just watch when you watch movies like this. Watch for, because when I watch movies, I always watch with my third eye open. watch for the epic rise and fall of the black man story in a lot of these films that's coming out. Because there's always some sort of smite.
Or sad ending. Yeah.
Some sort of smite, like, okay, you were great, but you failed. You ultimately failed.
Right.
You know? So just look for those. Keep your eye open for them, because that is a lot of movies that come out about us being triumphant. It always ends with an epic failure. So,
good point.
What I understand about the Dahomey Amazons, there is a element that is going to be very hurtful to those of African American descent. That, you know, the element of the connection between the Dahomey and the possible transatlantic slave trade. So that may also cause some issues, which may also widen that diaspora divide that we're dealing with right now. So pay attention to that as well, because there's always some hidden agenda behind the scenes.
Oh, always. All right, here's my last one, the way out of for the culture. So I did hear Nigeria is banning models who are
listen, they're banning European models. If you're white, if you're Indian, you're Chinese, you're not going to have any of your images in Africa.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Emmanuel, thoughts on the way out?
Be like,
yeah, you know what? I mean, I think I wouldn't ban anyone, because again, you go to Nigeria, you're seeing, you know, a lot more diversity probably than you've ever seen now. But I do appreciate the sentiment to keep Africa African. Right. So I appreciate that part. I mean, I wouldn't ban anything. You can just say you want to.
They're not banning it, but if you look at, it's not. It was funny. Nigeria's saying it, but other countries do it, Emmanuel, without even saying it. Feel me? Because if you go to Europe, you don't see no black girl on no damn cover of a magazine, right? You may see Rihanna or Beyonce, but I mean, actual models in their magazines are always white girls, right? White girls. I heard, like, even on TV, the news anchors got to be white or very, very light. There's no black people on there. So they do it because of white supremacy allows it, right? I just think I appreciate the boldness saying, yo, guess what? How about this, right? How about this? We're not going to have y'all in our magazines at all. And I'm okay with that, because it's been happening around the world for centuries and no one said anything. So to me, I don't think it's banning. I think it's them just saying, y'all do to us anyway. Like, you think you go to Netherlands and see a black girl model? No, all white girls. So it's like, if white nations do this, why don't black nations do it as well, right? We always adapt their people, their images, but they never adapt ours. So I don't look at it as banning. I look at it as they're just saying, you know what, for our young girls, because a lot of girls are bleaching their skin, and like the bleaching is really bad in Nigeria.
That is sad.
All over Africa too, right? So I just think that if young black girls are seeing in Nigeria, like girls that have the complexion that looks like them, dark skin, brown skin, whatever, in magazines, then at least they will love themselves more. I think imagery matters to girls and to men, right? Why do men prefer white women? Because white women are in every magazine ads, right? They're promoting that beauty to our men, right? So I think it's healthy, to be honest. I think it's a healthy balance. It's also karma to me.
That's because one of the two things that we process the most in our brains is the things that's heavily promoted to us and who we choose to be around, right?
Yeah.
So those things, you know, obviously what the media is pushing, just like, for example, you know, when we were young men, we used to be like, why do, you know, girls want a guy that's like, you know, this particular rapper? Well, that's what she's seeing.
Exactly.
That's what she's seeing. You know, why do guys like girls who look like this? That's what he's seeing.
Exactly.
That's what's being promoted to his eyes. So it's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. But I think that thing, is more reactive than any, like, you're reacting to what's already been done to you. I mean, if you're going to do it without saying. Because when you say it, you make it look worse than, you know what I mean, than it.
Yeah.
You know, and like, obviously you should be promoting more Nigerians that are
also like Nigerian models. I think we'll force companies to hire more models of color. I think it's for the culture, because they're going to be promoting the image. Because to be honest, like, we hear Beyonce for Vogue, she's like, I want a black photographer. Like, I don't care. Like, and you have to kind of do that. Not saying, she didn't say I don't want a white one, but I want a black photographer. Like what you said, like, I think it's how you say it. Maybe, you know, Africans are very blunt and direct, but yeah, they could have been like, oh, we want to promote more of our images, and they could said it better, but you know how they act in Nigeria. They're going to tell you exactly what they're doing without it being
exactly what you're doing.
It's a culture thing, but like we know what they meant though. Like I would think it came from a good place of wanting to promote their models. That's all, or their images. So
and there's nothing wrong with saying that. We're going to promote our women.
Yes,
without saying we're not promoting any European white people. Period. Like
exactly, it's how they
reactive. You're reactive. You know what I'm saying?
It's also showing. Sorry, it's also showing being homegrown and putting back into the community, because Nollywood, they put out over 1,000 movies a year, so that puts them right in between Hollywood and Bollywood. So they're in those conversations, right? So I think it's really, I think it's a bold statement for them to say, you know what, we're going to double down on our, and invest on our own, because I'm pretty sure in Bollywood, I haven't done the research on it, but I think it's a fair assumption to think that you would have a lot of advertisements which are catered toward their market, which is going to be Indian, right? And the same thing with Hollywood, right? So I mean, they're following suit with what else is going out there. So shout out to Nollywood, and I think Nigeria for that move. It's very bold. So
I love it.
I appreciate that too, because you think about when like, for example, if I wear this necklace with Africa on it, people seem to quickly be offended. But you have Chinatown, you have Little India,
right.
Italian festival, you have all of these different things that no one feels any type of way. But as soon as Africans say that we're keeping this strictly Africa, it's a problem.
Right.
It's always considered a problem.
Right.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Well, y'all, we're gonna have Emmanuel's information, links to Amazon for his books. Please support the culture, support him, and learn more about your African history. For those who are, or if you're not, learn more about African history. It's rich, it's beautiful. You love it. So
it's the origin of humanity. That's what
Let's go.
All right. So Nelly J, let's close this out with That's Absurd.
That's absurd. Faheem, bro, what was absurd this week? What was absurd?
The owner of the NBA team, the Phoenix Suns, he's been fined $10 million and suspended for 1 year for workplace misconduct. This happened in 2022, y'all, and that is absurd.
Absurd. This happened. Well, actually, it happened for a long time, but they investigated it last year. I think an ex-employee complained and said the NBA got to investigate the workplace environment. So the NBA hired a third-party legal team, similar to what NFL did. They hired a legal team, a legal company to investigate. They did interviews of people, and they found the counts were of course validated. However, they said that they don't think it came from a racist place. Again, I don't know how you can say that. To me, like, again, how do you know it's from a racist place if it's racist? Like, again, I'm not an expert on psychology, but hey, that was their assessment. I just think it's absurd because, and it's not, because it's a white owner who grew up in an area or in an era with a lot of money, and white men that age with that kind of reach. I'm shocked if they're not racist for him. How about that? I'm shocked. So I'm not shocked. I just think that, having a 1 year suspension and 10 million, I think it should be a bit steeper for me, only because this is a predominantly a black sport. And I just think that, I think the NBA Association should have had a say. I don't think it should have only been Adam Silver saying. I think the players should have had a say also. I don't know why I think that. I just think that because it affects them and the team. My thing is that those athletes should have more say than a white man, Adam Silver, who doesn't really know. I don't know. Maybe I'm being biased because I like. But anyways, my point is, I think it's not steep enough for a 1 year suspension. I think he needs to be removed from the NBA. That's just me, though. Emmanuel, your thoughts on it?
10 million ain't enough.
Yeah, he's the billion. He's a billionaire. Like it's like a dollar.
What is 10 million to a billionaire?
I agree. And Donald Sterling. In 2014, he was banned for life. I don't know what the difference is between Donald Sterling and...
It's a difference. Yeah, there's a big difference. So have you guys read what the entire case, or are you guys kind of going off just the
No, just going.
Okay. Yeah. So the biggest difference, and I'm so glad you said it. The biggest difference is that Adams, so with Sterling, it was actually a recorded incident where it was leaked on TMZ. So you actually heard specifically what was said. This is actually, so like you go all work at work, right? Imagine someone says this happened in a workplace. They have to investigate it. There was no recording. There's no evidence of what he said. So what you have to do is actually ask people questions, get timelines, and investigate like an HR environment. So one was a public incident where it happened in a public setting. So that was more the social media, whatever. This was in a work environment and there's nothing recorded, but because it's corporate setting, they can't actually leak out what was investigated, but people can, I guess, tell them what they felt, or what they saw, but it's still he said, she said. So the difference is he said, she said, versus even looking at the Raiders owner, there's actually emails, documented emails of what he said and did. The coach, but also I think even like the Commanders, their owner, there's documentation of what he said that was racist and, you know, homophobic, whatever. Whereas in this situation, there was no documents of what he said, but I do think there was a picture that he sent out that was kind of inappropriate, but the racist comment that he made wasn't through email. It was actually a he said, she said thing. Someone heard him say it and they reported it to the HR. You know what I mean? So it's different. It's not the same at all, but at the end of the day, I think people like to just kind of pull, oh, that happened with Sterling. No, look at the incidents. There's one that was happening at the workplace and internal and no recording. One happened with a girlfriend who she sold the tape to TMZ. Two different situations.
Yep.
Okay. And on that note, Nelly J, let's put this episode in the book.
That was a good rookie show. So, Emmanuel, you get to, of course, do a shout out. So the floor is yours. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, shout out to the whole entire IBP media team. Shout out to Ancient African Antiquities Research Institute of America. Shout out to TEDx Talk for putting your boy on. So all
that's
of that.
Huge.
Shout out to Good Rookie for having me for a second time. And the Bills Mafia too.
Bills Mafia. Also, guys, TED Talk. Please promote when that will happen.
Oh, that's October 7th. Is the recording. And it should probably be about a month after that.
Okay, perfect.
That's big things. Congratulations.
Congrats. My shout out simple is to you, to Winter, to your baby girl, right?
Yep.
Baby girl, shout out to the family.
Yeah.
Shout out to the iBlack Pharaoh group, all the media group, the podcast, everything. Please support Emmanuel. He's someone that's really pushing knowledge, information to our people. So support him if any way you can. And of course, I like to say just shout out to everyone playing in the FIBA or World Cup. Big up to Canada for coming in fourth. We almost beat USA, Faheem. We almost beat them. But coming up, Delano Banton had big games for us. So Delano, the way you play in the FIBA, you better play that way in the NBA. Go ahead, Faheem.
So I want to shout out Emmanuel. If you've been sitting with us for like the last hour here, you understand what he brings to the table, that TED Talk. We definitely have to tap in, promote that, and watch that. I'm very interested, see what you have for us. But you know what? I want to put this episode in the books.
Yes, y'all. That's a good rookie show. Please like, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. Faheem.
We are on all platforms if you're looking for us. That's a good rookie show. And we out. Emmanuel, you're a real one.
Peace. A real one.